This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora, and welcome to Emergence News. My name is Nigel, and joining me in the studio here at Plains FM 96.9 FM in Christchurch, New Zealand, is Peter. Good morning, Peter.
G'day, Nigel. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You were talking about all sorts of esoteric brilliance from Alice Bailey last time, and I thought this you might find this bit interesting. The Master DK, known as the Tibetan. Now, he passed the fifth initiation back in 1875, and he has basically been the messenger of the masters ever since, hasn't he?
That's right. He's been the young apprentice.
Yes, and he's a very busy man. Apparently, he knows more about the rays and planetary hierarchies in our solar system than anybody else within the ranks of the masters. That's according to Alice Bailey.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
He works also, John, with those who heal, including certain groups of devas. Now, you talked about devas. It's another word for angels, isn't it?
Yes. The other evolution that is going on planet Earth. One is the human evolution, which we are completely absorbed with. And the other one is the devic or angel evolution.
And we don't talk about that evolution enough, really, do
No,
we?
we really don't. But I'm not sure that Benjamin Cream does a lot either. Peter, it's not a topic that he talks a lot about.
No, but, our whole physicality is devic.
Yeah.
Our physical body is made up of devic lives, tiny lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the physical body is not really who we are.
No, this is
It's a vehicle.
the confusion that we get. But, it is up to us, obviously, to integrate it. And as our last program, we emphasised quite a bit about integration. And it's the body that we've got on loan.
So that's interesting because that means that part of the human experience is intertwined with that of the devic. Because our bodies are made up of tiny devic lives, tiny angels. And so we are intertwined, those two evolutions.
Yes.
Really interesting idea, isn't it?
We're going to have to get you back on that subject at some stage.
Cream has also said that we do have guardian angels.
Yes.
And Maitreya's title is the teacher of angels and men alike.
That's right.
One of his roles. So it's a really interesting concept. We'd have to dig deep and gather a lot of information. Does DK talk much about the devic evolutions, Peter?
Yes, he does in various aspects. It's the background of everything he's saying, really. He gives you... You need certain assumptions, and you need that knowledge before you start, I suppose.
Because it was him, the Tibetan, the Master DK, it was he that dictated a large part of that momentous book, The Secret Doctrine. Now, have you ever delved into any pages of that?
Yes, I've been through quite a bit of it.
With Helena Blavatsky?
Yeah, I mean, she spends half the time arguing with this philosopher and that scientist and this one, proving them wrong. And
She would have been great in a debating team.
No wonder she was really unpopular.
Yeah.
You are listening to Emergence News. Welcome to the program. Just back to you briefly, John. What are you going to be looking at later in the program? Answering some more big questions?
We talked about honesty, sincerity and detachment, and we've talked about that practice a lot. And the reason for that is that it is Maitreya's key teachings around individual. He talks about the art of self-awareness, and that becomes the art of self-realization. The self with a big S. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about honesty, sincerity and detachment, but I've kind of skewed off into some other a little bit more esoteric ideas around the art of self-realization and how honesty, sincerity and detachment fit into that model.
All right, so before we cross to John, let's just give you the big picture of the program. We talk on this program, as John just alluded to, about the next world teacher here on earth. His name is Maitreya, and he works with the Masters of Wisdom. Many of the Masters are involved in the preparation of the world on a large scale for the coming of Maitreya, the World Teacher. There are different opinions as to how many enlightened people or spiritual masters are alive or embodied on planet Earth. So we often refer to author Benjamin Creme on this subject because he spoke and authored many books based on the ageless wisdom teachings. And this is an ancient body of teachings regarding the nature of cosmos, the laws by which it operates, and Peter has covered some of that in recent programs. Also, the ageless wisdom teachings offer insight into the divine plan, the evolution of human consciousness, which we're talking about on the last program, the hierarchy, the Masters of Wisdom, and also the 7 rays, karma, reincarnation, a lot of those subjects that the Theosophical Society delivered delivered in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they were for quite a period of time, John, a vehicle for the Masters of Wisdom.
Yeah, they were. And we also know that if your endeavour is in line with the will and the thoughts and the desires of a master, then it will be energised accordingly. And if for some reason you slip from the master's chosen pathway, that the energy will be withdrawn. And, I'd have to say, having read the history of the Theosophical Society, which I guess a lot of theosophists would disagree with, they were really strong and powerful at one point and then have drifted away.
Centres all over the globe.
Yeah, and still there, still ticking away.
There.
Yeah, still a footprint there, and I wonder if maybe they'll be re-enlivened at some point. But certainly hold a body of knowledge. And there was a very beautiful Theosophy building here in Christchurch with a fabulous library. Absolutely fabulous collection of books. But that building's gone, and I don't know where they are.
Was that earthquake damaged?
Yeah, it was, unfortunately. It was that beautiful, down by the river.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, John, just before I cross to you, I've got one more message from the Master DK, the messenger of the Masters. He says, as man progresses towards the heart of the mystery, he awakens to a realization that the aim of evolution for him is to build consciously the channel between the levels which are to him the planes of the abstract or of the ideal, and the concrete ones whereon he normally functions. This connecting channel has been inadequately called, and literally, the path itself. Through the expression of his consciousness, through graded steps, until it includes the planes he seeks to reach, and thereby demonstrating the truth of the statement that in order to tread the path, he must become the path itself, and the accuracy of the occult truth that the Antakarana is itself but an illusion, because ultimately we're going to become the path itself. And Alice Bailey says, please ponder on this, dear friends. For it carries the illumination for those who have the eyes to see.
The Antakarana comes from the soul. The soul is a reflection of the monad.
And that's what we're building each time we meditate consciously.
So once, and I think it's the 4th degree initiate, Peter, you come face to face with the soul and the soul dissipates.
Yes.
And then you come in contact with the monad.
Yeah.
So the soul is merely a vehicle and a level to attain. And once you attain soul infusion, soul contact, the soul dissipates.
Yes, that's right. In fact, you're at the third initiation, you come in the first contact with the monad, and then, as you say, at the fourth, you can dissipate the soul. Because you're working directly from the monad, which is the spark of God.
Yeah, right, which is the individualized spark of God's soul.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
So if this subject piques your interest, we recommend you have a look at a treatise. Is that the right way to say that word?
Critique. Yeah.
On cosmic fire, and that's an Alice Bailey volume. No doubt you've read that one.
Yep.
We'll have to pick his brains on that subject a bit more. All right, John. It's your turn to cover some of those interesting subjects that you were alluding to earlier.
Okay, so I've started with, I jumped around a little bit to look at this topic, and we've talked a lot about honesty, sincerity and detachment, and it is really lovely to practice, start thinking about that. On the art of self-realization, Maitreya says, I have not come to found a new religion. I have come to teach the art of self-realization, which is neither an ideology nor a religion, but benefits people of all religions and those who have none. I seek to express that which I am through you, for this I come. So he is the anchor, the Lord of love on this planet. He goes on to say the self alone matters. And when Maitreya talks about the self, he talks about the self with a big S. So the self alone matters. You are that self, an immortal being. Suffering is caused by identification with anything and everything which is not the self. Ask yourself, who am I? You will see that you are identified either with matter, the body, or with thought, the mind, or with power, the spirit. But you are none of these. Mind, spirit, and body are the temples of the Lord. The self experiences these temples, the supreme being and becoming of the Lord. So I've gone to Maitreya's book, Benjamin Cream's book, Maitreya's Teaching the Lords of Life. And Benjamin Cream picks up again with Maitreya. One of the easiest ways to know me, Maitreya says, is to be honest in your mind, sincere in your spirit, and practice detachment. Any action performed with dishonesty of mind, an insincere spirit, and attachment is destructive. For example, when you think one thing, say another, and do something which is different again, you are lost. Honesty of mind leads to honest speech and honest action. This harmony leads to peace and happiness. Without detachment, there is no salvation. And here's one of the key ideas. Maitreya says, be what you are. Do not surrender your self-respect, your dignity to others. Do not allow anyone to cast his shadow over you. A master gives experiences, but does not cast his shadow. Do not follow one another. If you practice honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment, you will know me, you will know the Lord. So we've talked a lot about this on this program. And one of my takes on it is that honesty, sincerity, and detachment is the individual or micro practice recommended by Maitreya, and that sharing to save the world is the macro or global practice. So I've gone into a few other things. I dived into Maitreya's teachings, The Law of Life, one of Benjamin Cream's books, and I've picked up on page 55. And Benjamin Cream is talking about Maitreya's teachings. And be who you are. The simple foundation for the teachings of the New Age is this. So this is really critical. Be who you are. If you are a Jew, be a Jew. If you are a Muslim, be a Muslim. If you are a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist, be who you are. If you can discover the secrets of mind, spirit, and body, you will know who you are. If you can do this through honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. So the teaching for the individual is be who you are. Find out who you are. And the tools for that are honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. You gain freedom in creation and salvation in the Supreme Being. It is detachment which takes you from creation into the Supreme Being. In this way, you are not distracted by the powers of creation. So that's an interesting concept. So we've talked a lot about honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment as a tool for wellness, as a tool to get better. But really what Maitreya is saying is it's this process for realization, that honesty, sincerity and detachment are critical if you want to go ahead. And those three techniques underlie this process of finding out who you are. And on the last program, Peter, you said that we're ignorant about who we are, how we operate, how the planet operates, how the solar system operates. We don't understand the energy involved in human life. So the starting point for that is be who you are. Find out who you are. How do you do that? Practice honesty of mind. How do you do that? Practice sincerity and practice detachment. And Maitreya says you can practice detachment. I've always thought detachment comes out of honesty of mind and sincerity. You know, being honest begets sincerity. Being sincere about anything begets this detachment. But he's saying you can practice detachment.
And you said on a previous program, John, about detachment, don't get attached to the good stuff. And that's a really good place to practice detachment. Think of the good stuff in your life and start to practice detachment. It's not about being cool. It's not about being aloof. It's not about punishment. It's not being attached to any particular outcome.
Yeah, and I would say practicing honesty probably leads to harmlessness. If you're detached, you can be harmless. The technique is honesty, sincerity, and detachment. So I found it very difficult to go, I want to be more honest, I want to be more sincere. What I found I could get my mind around was, who am I? I want to know who I am. Ask those questions. And Benjamin Creme actually talks about meditating on that idea. Who am I? And see what comes up. So, yeah, that interesting connection between detachment and harmlessness. If I'm detached by a meeting that I'm sitting in at work I'm sitting in a meeting. If I'm detached, I'm not looking across the table going, that guy's a complete idiot, right? I'm detached from that. It doesn't matter. And so, therefore, I'm more likely to practice harmlessness. But I went to Maitreya's teachings, The Art of Cooperation, and I've decided, I read this book many years ago and nearly all of it's fallen out of my head. I think it's because I sleep on my side at night. Anyway, it's the book for this age, The Art of Cooperation, because competition is killing us, literally. Killing humans, killing the planet. It's so destructive. But anyway, I've gone to The Art of Cooperation and I started on page 149. And Maitreya talks about heart response versus mental response. Sorry, this is Benjamin Creme talking. The mind works through the brain. And you can tell whether your response is from the heart or the brain because the brain rationalizes, whereas the heart intuits. And you said last program, Peter, talking about intuition being the way forward, all right? So if you want to know what your heart is saying, place your attention at the heart center, the right-hand side of the body, not the physical heart, which is the right-hand side of the body, that cavity in the body is the seat of the soul. If you find a response there, you will know the answer, yes or no, right or wrong. If you are experiencing from the solar plexus, that is no more trustworthy than the brain. You can always tell the difference once you recognize it between the solar plex astral emotion reaction and the heart reaction. These are two distinct sensations. If it is at the solar plexus, recognize it and ignore it because that's the astral emotional. And as a group, humanity has to get over and above the astral polarization.
It's a huge challenge, that, isn't it? Because we talk about taking the first initiation, but really it's after that's, for the majority of us, the hard work is the journey. What is it? Roughly about 13 lifetimes between the first and second initiation, because that second initiation, you're starting to gain control over your emotions.
And you know, we've talked
and it governs us.
Yeah. We've talked about the tools of the lords of materialism. We've talked about those that want to keep us enthralled. And their tool surely must be the astral, emotional, because we don't want a thinking humanity. And the tool for astral emotion on this planet is the flat screen in front of you, right? The social media is pumping out emotion. And once you get caught up in emotion, you stop thinking. And Benjamin Creme says that's at the solar plexus. If you arrive at an answer from the brain by deduction, putting on one side this and putting on the other side that, and comparing the two, you may or may not arrive at the right answer. If you experience what is happening at the heart, that reaction you can trust. It will give you the intuition that is right to do and what is not right to do. So he goes on this page a lot to talk about this relationship between the heart and the mind. And he's differentiating between the heart and the mind. I found this really challenging because I've always assumed that the way out of the madness and anger and frustration produced by my involvement with the astral planes would be overcome by putting my attention high. That is on the ajna center in the forehead. So mind. But what I think you do when you put your attention on the ajna center, so that point between the eyebrows, is you lift your attention out of the astral, drag it through the heart center, and then into the mind. So remember, Peter, we have a Ray 3 solar system,
Yes.
a Ray 2 planet,
Yes.
right? So
Ray 3 planet.
Ray the 3. So the physical body of the Earth is Ray 3.
Yeah.
But we're a Ray 2 system.
And the Logos is Ray 2.
The Logos is, the God of the solar system is Ray 2, love, wisdom. Our planet is 3, intelligence. So it seems to me the way forward here has got to be intelligent love. That combination between heart and mind. Benjamin Creme is saying, go to the heart first. Right? But when you lift your attention to the ajna center, you're taking the energy from the solar plexus up through the heart chakra into the mind and producing that synergy that you talked about in the last program.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Arjuna and the charioteer. And the 3 horses in the chariot are mind and emotion and physical body. And you've got to get those horses all going in the right direction.
Cooperating.
So if you practice dragging your attention away from the solar plexus up through the heart into the mind, practice honesty, sincerity and detachment in your daily life and discover who you are.
You are listening to Emergence News, and what an interesting subject, the seat of the soul. There's a lot to consider there, and the 2 books that you were referring to there, John, were The Laws of Life and The Art of Cooperation, both by Benjamin that man. Creme. You love that man, Benjamin Creme.
I'm a fanboy, Benjamin Creme.
Yeah. You're Benjamin Creme, and of course Peter enjoys the Alice Bailey volumes of work at the moment.
The scientist sitting in the corner.
Yes, indeed. Look, just before we go, we have got a few acknowledgements to make.
Yep.
And at the beginning of this program, I was talking about the emergence of Maitreya, and the name of this program is Emergence News. And I just thought it's a good opportunity to acknowledge Shafir, who was one who joined you two. And was a co-founder of this program.
11 years ago.
11 years ago. Did you realise that, Peter, that this program has been active on Plains FM and Apple Podcasts since 2015. We're in the 11th year.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Lord.
that was when you're in your 90s, Peter. Early 90s, I think, mate.
Yeah. So if you're listening, Shafir, thank you for all your contributions earlier on the program. The door's always open, Shafir, but she's been over in the UK. And the reason why I'm mentioning that she's over in the UK at the moment is because we have a second permanent listener. We got an email recently from Moss. Thank you for your email, Moss. It was great to hear from you. And he wanted to reassure us that we have 2 regular listeners. And he mentioned Shafir, which means he's been listening to us for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And speaking of acknowledgements, we can't go past acknowledging some of our Share International co-workers. Over in the USA, I'd like to say hi to Zach. He helps us with our magazine subscriptions. Dick Larson, who you've done a bit of work with, John.
Yep. Dick's fabulous. If you get a chance to see Dick or listen to Dick talking, he moves around the California area, poor man, and because I'm sure he wants to come to New Zealand and live here. Get a chance to see Dick Larson talking. He gives talks around the Oakland area and LA, and also he's on various podcasts.
That's right, on the Share International USA website.
Yep.
And I would also like to acknowledge Megan, Wendy and Pauline, all important people in the Share International co-workers here in New Zealand, located in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. And Pauline, who has been a very long time supporter of this program.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate your ongoing support, Pauline.
Pauline finances my lifestyle. So, she's my main sponsor. I wear T-shirts with Pauline on the back. Also, what about Sophia in Wellington?
Oh, look,
Doing huge amounts of work for us. Sophia does all of the graphics that go up around various podcast platforms because we have global reach. We're a global organisation, Emergence News, and we appear on a number of podcast platforms. And Sophia does all of the graphics for that, which are just spot on. Just spot on.